Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. It's Amiibo here. Today we're doing another Switch collecting on a budget. I'm going to give you some recommendations for games that you can add to your Switch collection for pretty cheap. Under $25 is the goal, but a lot of these actually fall quite a bit under that. Some in like the $15, some in that $20 range. But the goal is games under $25. So if you enjoy this type of content and you want to see more, I would appreciate you subscribing. Let's get into the list. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the channel. I hope your day is treating you well. So back in September, I did a video going over some cheap Switch games that you can add to your collection for, under $25. And you guys really seem to enjoy that. So I thought maybe this won't be like a regular series, but every once in a while, when I see enough of games that are kind of like down in price, I could do a cheap games to add to your collection. I could also even go a little bit higher, maybe like do under 30, under 35, that kind of thing. But we're doing under 25 again today. And I think the list I've curated is pretty good. We have some cool indie games, some first party Nintendo stuff that's actually under 25, as well as a lot of anime games. I did a video a couple days ago talking about anime games on Switch. There will be some repeats that were in that video that I'll talk about here, but there's some pretty cheap anime stuff on Switch. But yeah, starting off here, I have two first-party Nintendo published games that are actually pretty cheap for you to consider buying. The first one of which is Big Brain Academy, Brain vs. Brain. I actually really like this game. I unfortunately didn't put like a ton of time into it, maybe 5-10 hours, something like that. So I didn't get too in the weeds with this game. But this came out back in, I want to say 2021, and it retailed for $30. So that's why the price is already it's like $19. Like it's a cheap game, under $20 if you buy a used copy off of eBay. Of course, then you have to pay shipping, but you can get it for cheap. This is a really fun game. It's a series I didn't really think Nintendo would bring back. Of course, Big Brain Academy, that was a big DS thing. That was a big Wii thing during the whole like touch generations, like all those casual games for like your grandma to play. Big Brain Academy was one of those, but even back then on DS, I always thought they were really fun. I don't know, there's something about like the aesthetic and the charm of Big Brain Academy. I love the art in this game. You have like a character creator and you can unlock like cosmetics and stuff while you play. There's also a whole like online focus and a multiplayer focus. So if you have like some loved ones you want to play with that maybe don't play games too often, and you kind of just some, like basic brain games, right? Like, I mean, we're talking some pretty basic, like logic-based things like memory games or games where you have to like, match up pairs of things. Like it's very basic stuff, but it can actually get pretty hard later on. And that's a lot of fun. So yeah, if you want something to play with like maybe some siblings or just some friends, a very casual kind of, logic game, this one is actually a lot of fun. And like I said, it's very, very cheap. And there is that whole online mode. I'm not sure how active it is, but I think the way it works is you like face off against ghosts or something. But yeah, this one was definitely a big surprise for me back in 2021. And at $19, I mean, you really can't beat that for like a first party, pretty quality Nintendo title. Next up is a Square Enix game that Nintendo published that I've still been meaning to make time for this entire series, in fact, and that is Bravely Default 2. This one I think also came out back in 2021, and of course is a sequel to Bravely Default. This is a series I've been meaning to get into. I have the games on 3DS, I just never really put too much time into them. I think I played the Bravely Default prologue demo or something on 3DS, which was actually like a whole separate thing from the full game. But these are very meaty turn-based RPGs that I've heard very, very great things about, and yeah, Bravely Default 2 is actually pretty cheap. I mean, it retailed for $60, but as of right now, it's still like a $20 game. So this is one that I could also see maybe going back up in price later on. I know Bravely Default 1 on 3DS at one point was pushing like 50, 60, so above MSRP. Bravely Second Inlay, I don't think ever really got to that. Now, what is weird here is, since I haven't really played these games, I don't have too much experience, someone in the comments can let me know, this is Bravely Default 2, but we already had Bravely Second. Bravely Default 2, like none of these games actually are connected. I believe Default and like Second, those are mechanics. That's why they're called that. But story-wise, I don't think you need to play the first Bravely Default. I could be completely wrong on that. So if you've played these games, let me know in the comments down below. But this is one that, yeah, is a pretty cheap, high-quality, turn-based RPG from Team Asano over at Square Enix. Of course, the Octopath people, right? Or like the main guy, Asano, is like kind of overseeing all this stuff. And it has a very nice art style. And yeah, this is one I definitely want to make time for in the hopefully near future, but there's an endless sea of RPGs coming out right now, so I'm not quite too sure when I'll make time for this one. But yeah, it's a cheap one, and it is a Nintendo published game, which is always a combo you don't really see too often. Next up, let's talk about two games that might be great if you can get it in time for the holiday season, the Halloween season specifically. I'm posting this video like a week before Halloween, so good luck. But Little Nightmares. So both Little Nightmare games are on Switch. There's also a 2-pack that is European exclusive. The physical release situation for this game is weird. However, both of them are under $25. So I only have Little Nightmares 1 Complete Edition. And as you can see, this is a European copy. Yeah, this game didn't get a standard release in North America. So if you want it physically, you have to get it from Europe imported. It is available digitally digitally there as well, and I'm sure it's cheaper there, maybe on sale, right? But this one goes for about like $24, and then the second game, which I actually don't have a physical copy of, it goes for under $20, at least according to price charting anyway. So these are pretty fun. If you played like Limbo, that popular Xbox Live Arcade game, it's kind of similar. You're going through these 2D environments, has all these weird, freaky creatures. I know the Switch version, yeah, it even says it on the back of the box here. You get the Paku Paku mask with the Pac-Man amiibo, which is weird. But if you want something kind of creepy, something kind of creepy crawly game to play during Halloween this year, Little Nightmares 1 and 2 are pretty fun games. Also, Little Nightmares 3 coming out on Switch. I think it was supposed to come out this year, but got delayed, so I think that's a 2025 game now. So if you want to have all 3 Little Nightmares games on Switch, you can get started, you can get caught up for the new one with the first 2 games. And like I said, there's also that 2-pack that I didn't know about until very recently, but as I said, that's like a European-only thing, and Little Nightmares 1 is still just a download code, but it has like unique box art, which is kind of cool. So that's something you might want to be looking into. That's a weird release I really haven't seen that many people mention before. All right, let's talk about some good indie games on the Switch. Indie games usually kind of get pretty low in price, I would say, even if they're very high quality. So I don't have either of these physically. Well, one of them I kind of do, but we'll talk about that in just a second. So Neon White, this is a very, very fun first-person action, very fast-paced game where you have like cards and you have to like use the cards to kill enemies, and it's like this big parkour game, and it is a very, very fast-paced kind of first-person speedrunning game. It's one of those games that like encourages you to speedrun. You want to be speedrunning this game as fast as possible, mastering the routes, figuring out where the enemies kind of spawn in and where to hit them with your cards at the right time. This game is fantastic. According to price charting, this one's weird. It says complete in price $25.73, new price $24.74. I looked on Amazon. It's available on Amazon in the US right now for under $25. I actually own this game digitally, and also I have it in the Annapurna collection that came out. That one's very expensive, but it's a bunch of Annapurna games on one cartridge, and Neon White is on there. But also Neon White did get its own standalone release, and I believe this was nominated for Best Indie Game or something last year. Like this is a pretty well-reviewed, well-respected game, and for under $25, you really can't go wrong here. You could probably get it cheaper digitally. I think that goes for most games, but also especially most indie games. But Neon White is fantastic. And then a classic one that I really love that I still need to pick up physically, but I play these games digitally. Back on the PS4, back on the Vita, Hotline Miami, the Hotline Miami collection. According to price charting, technically not within my range. I'm breaking the rules here just a little bit, but if you go on eBay, you can find this game for under $25. So maybe it's on the rise as of right now, but I've definitely seen this game recently for under $25. And yeah, Hotline Miami, if you haven't heard of it, this is a top-down action game where it's just really brutal. You're going through these levels fast-paced, picking up guns, killing dudes, and it's just a lot of fun, man. I really, really love Hotline Miami. 2 isn't as good. They went for a lot more like open level design that I wasn't super feeling. I think that the closer corridors and all that from the first game kind of made the level design shine a lot more, the gameplay shine a lot more. Also, the soundtrack in both of these games is banging. I love the OSTs for both of these games. So if you can find this for under 25, I definitely recommend it. These are fantastic indie games. Definitely some of like my early like indie darlings. Like when I had my PS Vita back in like 2013, 2014, Hotline Miami was a game I played a ton. I got the Platinum Trophy. Really adore those games, and there is a physical on Switch, but yeah, price rating has it just slightly above. So I guess I'm kind of cheating here, but hey, the loose price is 22, so it's right in that range of being under 25, and it's a really great game. All right, now these aren't technically indie games, but they're in that, like, they're smaller budget 2D Metroidvanias, and that is the Ori series. So I'm counting this as 3 separate entries because there are 3 separate games here. However, it's weird. So you have Ori and the Blind Forest. That is the first game. You can get that for under $20. You have Ori and the Will of the Wisps. That one you can get for under 20 as well. Those are the first 2 games in the series. I guess are the only 2 games in the series. I think the developer Moon Studios, they just released something new recently. But so you have those 2 separately. If you want to buy them separately, you can. I know some people don't like having collections, but you do have Ori the collection that you can get for under 25 as well. That's like $23. I think on Amazon it might be 30, but you can get it for under 25. So you kind of have to make this choice here. Is it really worth spending basically the cost of another entire game to have these games separately? Or should you just get the Ori collection? I mean, these are highly regarded, highly reviewed, beloved Metroidvania games that were at one point exclusive to Xbox. I believe Microsoft owns the rights to these, but they published them on Switch. These aren't even on PlayStation, I don't think, but these are fantastic Metroidvania games. Cannot recommend them enough. Beautiful art style, beautiful music, just beautiful games. These are very beautiful games. And if you want a good Metroidvania for under 25, I mean, the collection for 23, you really can't beat that price. It's a fantastic collection of games. Next up, I want to shout out the Banner Saga Trilogy. Now, this one's a little weird because it requires a download, so not the greatest physical release, right? All the content is not on the cartridge. However, the Banner Saga is a pretty well-regarded, well-beloved series of tactical RPGs. I believe by Stoic is the developer. I think Versus Evil was the other publisher. I know currently that developer is working on Towerborn with Microsoft, but the Banner Saga Trilogy, these are tactical kind of interactive story games. So reading from the description here, the game follows two playable characters, each having their own story that ultimately merges into one. The core of the game is a single-player campaign of turn-based combat engagements inspired by games such as Final Fantasy Tactics and Shining Force. But the players controlling and being able to build up a party of characters with complementary abilities, the game deliberately avoids certain conventions of action-oriented computer role-playing games, such as the focus on a young lone hero story, looting and buying items, or reloading a saved game state after defeats. Instead, the developers intended to tell the story of the player's caravan as a whole and encourage players to accept and deal with the consequences of any defeats they may encounter. So it maybe kind of has like a Fire Emblem permadeath thing going on here, where your actions really matter. If something bad happens, like that actually impacts the game. I love the art style. It almost reminds me of like a Dragon's Lair kind of thing. But yeah, these are very critically praised games. I believe Austin Wintory did the soundtrack. Austin Wintory, of course, did the music for Journey. So huge name right there. Yeah, there is a physical version of this trilogy. Like I said, though, it does unfortunately require a download, and you can get this for, I think, right under 20 bucks. All right, next up, let's talk about a bunch of Bandai Namco games, starting off with an RPG, but then moving into some anime stuff. Of course, I'm sure you're all aware that Bandai Namco publishes most anime games, most anime properties like My Hero and Dragon Ball, which we'll be talking about. But first off, I do want to give a quick shout out to Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. This one came out back, I want to say, in like 2018 or so on the Switch. I just got this very recently. I've always wanted to play Tales of Vesperia and really just get into the series as a whole. But Tales of Vesperia, I know, is a pretty big fan favorite. This one was originally exclusive to the Xbox 360, if you can believe it or not, and eventually it came over to the PS3, and then of course on Switch, PS4, Xbox One, PC, right? But Tales is a pretty popular series. I'm sure you're all familiar with Tales. Switch has a couple other games. We have Tales of Symphonia remastered as well. That one's not under 25. And then we also have Tales of Grace's F, I believe, coming out in January. And thankfully, this remaster seemed to be a lot better received than Symphonia. I know when Symphonia came out, of course, that's the classic GameCube game with Lloyd in it, my boy Lloyd. That game, that remaster was not very well received. Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition, from what I understand, from what I've heard from others, apparently this remaster on PS4 and Switch is a pretty good one. It's not like just a rush job. They did a pretty good job with this. So hopefully Tales of Grace's F does a little bit better. But yeah, I actually just got this one in. It's funny. I guess they recently reprinted it. Maybe that's why I got it for under 20. But it has the new Bandai Namco logo on there. But this game released before they switched their logo from like the the yellow and orange circles to this new kind of more sterile, like red speech bubble thing. So this is a new reprint that has the new logo on the box. I guess if you're going for all the variants, man, you got to get this new new Bandai Namco new logo variant of Tales of Vesperia. But yeah, heard very good things about this game. Been meaning to play it for a while, and hopefully, once again, another JRPG and the infinite sea of JRPGs that I will get to in retirement. I guess maybe we'll see. And then finally, let's talk about some anime games, starting off with Dragon Ball. Of course, Sparking Zero just came out earlier this month. Dragon Ball Daima just started. I've heard very great things. I'm actually going to see it in theaters in November, so very excited to see that. I'm waiting. My first time with Daima will be on the big screen, so very excited for that. But there are a lot of Dragon Ball games on Switch, and with the exception of one, which I'm going to talk about anyway, because I might as well talk about all of them. With the exception of one, they're all pretty cheap, all under $25. Some of these are straight up like $15. One of them's like $11. The Dragon Ball games on Switch are very cheap, and a lot of them are very high quality. So we'll start off with my favorites. I've talked about these in depth a lot recently. If you missed my anime games on Switch video where I cover basically every anime game that's available on Switch, even like the weirder stuff, definitely go check out that. But starting off here, we have Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. I think this is still the GOAT. I love this game. I would still play this over Sparking Zero. I know, hot take. This is a co-op PvP, PvE focused Dragon Ball game. Whereas Sparking Zero, I get it. It's the most beautiful Dragon Ball game we've ever had. Has the craziest roster, and it just is a lot of fun to play. And for PvP purposes, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, definitely the best Dragon Ball game we have. I don't think there's really any questioning that. But I love the co co-op PvE nature of these Xenoverse games. Going back to the first one on PS4, I played that there. And then, yeah, Xenoverse 2 came out back in 2017 on Switch, so a year after the other versions because the Switch wasn't out. And you can get this game for like $13. And the great thing about this is the reason I feel like the most confidence recommending this over every other Dragon Ball game available on Switch, it's still getting supported. It's still active. There's still DLC coming out for this game. They just announced that Daima Goku is getting added. They just announced this whole like new storyline with Fu, a Dragon Ball Heroes character. So Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, despite Sparking Zero coming out, is still like a very important Dragon Ball game. So if you want something that isn't as PvP focused, but something more, a little bit more co-op, more story focused than what Sparking Zero is, it's not too late to get into Xenoverse 2. I really believe that. Xenoverse 2 is one of my favorite Switch games. I love that game so much. Another Dragon Ball game that just refuses to die for some reason. Another very high quality one. I didn't like it as much as Xenoverse, but it's a different type of game. It's a story game. That is Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Now, once again, kind of cheating here. Price Running has it at $30, so I'm just blatantly cheating, but I'm talking about all these other Dragon Ball games. I might as well go ahead and include this. A loose price under $25. So I was looking on eBay. You can snag a copy for like $24 plus shipping. So not the worst, but Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, this is like the story of Dragon Ball. Sparking Zero, awful if you're trying to experience the story. Dragon Ball Xenoverse, completely not really even. I mean, it goes through the events of Z, but like, it's like non-canon versions. Kakarot is the actual like telling of Dragon Ball Z, and then there's been a ton of DLC as well covering the World Tournaments. I believe it covers the end of Dragon Ball and the DLC as well. Then there's going to be DLC for Daima, another game that just keeps getting DLC. Xenoverse makes sense. Xenoverse is like a multiplayer focused game. Kakarot is a single-player story game, and they just keep adding DLC to it. I would have preferred a sequel or something at this point, but you know what? I'll take it. It's cool that they're, keeping this game going. It's been out for like 5 years at this point, and we're still getting DLC of Daima. But yeah, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, very fun game, beautiful graphics from CyberConnect 2, the Naruto Storm devs. So if you are new to Dragon Ball and you just want to like have another way to experience the story, maybe you're reading the manga, maybe you're watching the anime, but you want to have another kind of reference point, Kakarot is a really great way to just experience the story of a Dragon Ball Z. So while it's a little bit out of the budget for this video, I'm cheating. It is a very good game to just kind of get more into the series with. I really recommend it from that perspective. But we do have some others, of course. Dragon Ball FighterZ here from Arc System Works. This one you can get for like $18 according to price charting. Very cheap. I actually just recently picked this one up. I don't think I've shown it in a pickups video yet. Dragon Ball FighterZ is more of a standard kind of serious 2D fighting game that you see in tournaments like EVO, right? Xenoverse is kind of a goofy game. You're not really playing Xenoverse 2 competitively. You're not even really playing Sparking Zero competitively. But Dragon Ball FighterZ is like your competitive, like this is the competitive Dragon Ball fighting game. It got a ton of DLC covering a ton of characters across the series. And while I'm not too great at like regular traditional 2D fighting games, this is the one I put the most time into. I think I put like 60 hours into this on Switch. I adore this game, even though, like I said, I'm not like good at it. Playing with my coworkers during COVID at work, like on lunch and all that, like it was just a ton of fun. Every day grinding that game, going home, playing it online, and the story mode's not great or anything. It has this really cool like color where you have like a little chibi version of yourself with some customization, but the actual core gameplay here, if you want like a 2D fighting Dragon Ball game, this is the best one, bar none. There's also really not that many other options, at least not on modern platforms. And yeah, you can get it for like $18 on Switch, and it runs great on Switch too. So definitely recommend that. Then we get to two that I'm less experienced with, two that aren't really up my alley. Starting off with the cheapest game in this video, actually, Dragon Ball The Breakers Special Edition. This one is like actually $10, I think. So this is Dragon Ball Dead by Daylight. And I will admit, I have not played a ton of it. I gave it a couple hours. This game sucks. Or at the very least, it doesn't run well on Switch to the point where like I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to play this. Maybe the PS5 version's better. Maybe it runs so much better on PS5 that it makes the game worth it. But from my little experience playing this on Switch, it just ran so poorly. The menus were laggy. It didn't look good. And also, I'm not a huge fan of these like Dead by Daylight type games. Now, maybe you are. Maybe you love the whole like 4v1 or 5v1, whatever the case may be. Maybe you love those games. In this case, you play as like Oolong or Bulma or just other civilians, I believe, and you have to go off against villains. So like Frieza will be kind of chasing you down, Cell will be chasing you down. That's an actual player. But then you have these people that don't have powers who have to kind of, figure out how to escape the villain's grasp, which is a cool idea. I get it. I understand why people like these games. They're just not for me. So maybe this is one, at $10, you're kind of not really risking that much. But also I believe there is no sort of like single player or anything. You have to connect to online. So I worry maybe this game will be kind of dead eventually. I'm not sure how active the servers are on Switch. I'm not sure if it's crossplay. But yeah, for $10, I wanted to include it just because while it's not for me, It is a very, very cheap Switch game to add to your collection or to try out just on a whim if you decide to. And then the final Dragon Ball game, another one that I haven't put too much time into, but I do respect the hell out of, is Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission. This one actually includes a little Dragon Ball card there, which is pretty neat. This is a card game. This is, I guess in Japan, Super Dragon Ball Heroes is this huge, huge thing, and there's card games, there's arcade cabinets, and this is basically just a video game version of that, but it's cool because you can see like the 3D models and stuff. You can see all these like what-if characters, and like, it feels like fan fiction, right? Dragon Ball Heroes is very much like a fan fiction kind of thing. I mean, even looking at the back of the box here, just to give you an idea, like, what are these characters? That's not Great Saiyan, man. That's not Goten, and that's just White Cell Frieza mix. I don't even know what that is. I'm sure there's some maybe explanation in the game, but yeah, not really for me. I like the idea of getting into a card game like this, but also I just never do it. Like I talked about Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist, which I played a little bit of. I enjoyed what I played of it, but like it's hard for me to really sink that kind of time into a card game. But yeah, there is this. This is also a Switch exclusive, I believe. So this one never came to PlayStation for whatever reason. So this is the only Dragon Ball game that's actually exclusive to the Switch, and you can get this once again for like $20. So outside of Kakarot, every Dragon Ball game currently available on Switch is very cheap, and if you are a fan of Dragon Ball, most of these games are like really good. I totally recommend at least 3 of them anyway. And then finally, to close off the video, we're talking about all these anime games, these Bandai Namco licensed games. I figure we might as well talk about these because they are also very cheap. Both of these are under $15. We have My Hero One's Justice 1, as well as My Hero One's Justice 2. So I've only played the first game, and I'll be honest, I didn't love it. I'm not like a huge My Hero fan. I'm actually going to give it a review here, I think, soon. I'm going to try to watch it again because my girlfriend, Olivia, has never seen it, and she loves Naruto, so I think she'll probably would like My Hero. My Hero's fine. I don't think it's like the most crazy thing. It's inoffensive, I guess, but it's fine. It has good characters, has some good bones to it. My Hero's One's Justice is... it's fine, like, as a game. It's whatever. It definitely feels like a kind of prototype or an early version of what would become, or at least from what I've heard, of what would become of My Hero One's Justice 2, because everything I've heard about the sequel, which I have not played, I've heard is just significantly better. Like, it's just way better. The netcode's better, the character roster's better, the story stuff is better. This one I think goes up to the Overhaul arc, so I mean only about like halfway through the series, but then you get characters like Overhaul, you get Mirio in there. So definitely I think a more appetizing package, and for like $2 more, why not just get it? But also I guess if you want to check out the first game and kind of see the roots of this series, you could do that as well. I'm not sure how active the online would be for this game. I would say probably don't buy it unless you're just going to do the story stuff or kind of maybe just play locally, that kind of thing. But yeah, there are 2 My Hero games on Switch. Actually, Ultra Rumble's also on Switch, but that didn't get a physical release. That's like the Battle Royale game. Also not sure how active that is. But yeah, that is going to do it for today's video. Those are my Switch games I can recommend to you on a budget if you are trying to add to your collection for under $25 a piece. If you are trying to add to your collection without completely breaking the bank, those are some recommendations for you. Some indie games, some RPGs, some anime games, a lot of nice variety in this video. Of course, give me your recommendations. What do you think I should include in the next episode of the series? What games under $25 do you think would make people happy? What games under $25 do you think would be a good fit for a video like this? Or maybe I could do like a under 30 or under 35 kind of thing. Maybe we'll see how that goes. But that is going to do it. Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch collecting content coverage, that kind of thing, if you enjoy it. If not, you know, I'll just be sad here. You can dislike the video, I guess. I understand. But yeah, until next time, folks, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, follow me on YouTube on my other channel at Botox Games. And until next time, folks, peace.